I know Dan didn't get to.
It's
But,
hard. I have to play on children's mode.
yeah,
There
there's a
is.
children's difficulty.
I saw that.
They really go for you when they do stuff like that. Occasionally you find a game that does that and you're like, oh, it's easy mode, and then you tab over left and you either get like very easy, which already is not cool, but this one's like children's mode. Even as a child, I would have been like, no,
Yeah.
not playing children's mode. I can't do it. It's so insulting.
What would my friends think of me?
Welcome to the Cable Club. We're a retro video gaming podcast where three guys get the zoomies. This is episode number 45. We're your hosts. I'm Steve.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Don.
And today we're talking about Rocket Knight Adventures. We didn't have a guest, so you're just going to have to suffer, the three of us. Get ready to upload data from us to you. But first, Dan, you have a question of the week?
If you could swap your life for a week with any video game character, who would it be? You would have to consider the mess said character would leave and also the mess you'd be in for that week. Oh. Ho, 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 ho. Who wants to start us off with this one?
I will. So, I think I would trade my life for a week with the Pokemon trainer Red. Wouldn't it be so cool to be able to like go around and catch Pokemon? And I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be fun. And like
It's like your childhood dream. Every kid back then.
The risk is so low, you have Pokemon, like, Team Rocket really doesn't care about you. You don't have to do that.
Doesn't matter if they do, you're basically a walking nuke in that game.
Yeah, right? I'm the
else.
only person who knows how to actually raise a balanced team and use type weaknesses.
Oh, yeah, you destroyed my Caterpie.
I'll be walking around as Red going, you're going to get a kick out of this. They're going to discover a lot more of these things.
I mean, Red is basically John Wick of the Pokemon universe, right? Like, he's his own sovereign territory. He rolls into town and you leave him alone, or else.
Yeah, so the messes that he has are trying to eat and, winning dogfights. That's not too bad.
Yeah.
The mess that he'd leave in my life, I mean, he probably just wouldn't go to work. I mean, I'd have to come back to a week of, where the hell were you?
Actually doing dog fights.
Well, my dog was sick.
Great. All right, Don, what do you got?
Oh, man, this is hard because I feel like I need to think about the risk versus reward of the situation, right?
See? I got you to think about it.
Yeah, and I was going to take Pokemon Trainer too, but I'm not going to now. Because it's like, you could be like, oh, Mario, kicking it in the Mushroom Kingdom would be cool. And okay, well, you get to just deal with Bowser for a week, and then what do you get out of it? Nothing, right? Because Mario and the princess never canonically get anything together. So, there's that. Same goes for Link. It's an awful lot of work put in to go back to his little mud hut every time, right?
Yeah, and there's no showers in Hyrule. I've never seen one.
Well, I guess you would just take for granted that in the Pokemon world you would find food and showers and everything else, right? So.
Well, yeah, because it's modern,
So I think it would be pretty cool to do Captain Olimar from Pikmin, because I think the game lasts for more than a week, so you're pretty good on not running out of air.
He comes
so you
back,
can just leave him
and you
high
haven't
and dry.
accomplished anything?
You just haven't accomplished anything. But visiting
He
another
just loses a
alien
week.
planet would be pretty cool. Yeah, he just loses a week and blanks out. There's no real baddie bads in Pikmin, The natives seem friendly enough, so it looks okay. I can't really say Animal Crossing because I've never done Animal Crossing. I feel like it's boring anyway, so.
Yeah, if you want to do chores, you might as well just stay you.
And if you say Sims, how boring are you? Get out.
Dude, I was going to say that for my joke.
Yeah, just wanted to
Damn it, you ruined it.
just want to make sure Dan couldn't cop out and say this.
All right. Well, I was gonna say Sims for my joke answer, but the cat's out of the bag. I guess. I mean, this isn't really a safe answer at all, but like, it's just a. To this day, it's still like one of my favorite video game characters ever, and it would be Mega Man X. You know, busting up like, Mavericks and stuff, dashing around and stealing
Provided you can
powers.
do the parkour.
And
Just saying.
well, I'd have hopefully a high tech suit to help me out. I would hope.
You'd just be in X's body, I guess. And then what is X gonna do to your life while you're there? Because I get that's part of Jump Cancel's.
He's gonna take over
question.
the world for me or something. So when I come back, I'll be like, yes. No, I don't know.
He's going to download all the information on the stock market,
Yeah.
and he's going to invest in all the right places and leave you all the information because he can just upload himself because he's a robot, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's in a dystopian future where I'm sure there's no stock market, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably access to the internet and computing speed, and I don't know.
Well, the more I
Just
think
Run
about
around
it,
for like a whole week and try to tell everybody about how to not ruin the future. Just make Dan look like a crazy person on the sidewalk or something for a week.
You got Mega Man X walking around. Be careful of the Mavericks. They're like, what the hell is this guy talking about?
Chat GPT, and he tries to shoot it, but he has no arm cannon, so it's just Dan pointing his fist at a laptop with Chat GPT on it.
Yeah, the more I think about it, I don't know if I'd be returning, because if it was actually in like my human body in his universe, there's no way my brain's going to compute with AI Maverick brains. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can figure out how to kill me like, 17,000 times in a second.
It would be difficult.
Watch out for that fast ostrich, man. The speedster ostrich, or whatever his name is.
Oh, I could just say
Overdrive.
I lived a good life.
Yeah.
Be one of my childhood favorite video game characters before I leave
Well, I
the
wouldn't
world.
pick Bill Reiser from Contra. That's a bad one.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bad ones for sure. Like Super Meat Boy.
Yeah. Well, I just didn't want to like pick like a super safe answer, because it's like, I don't know. I just want to spice it up a bit.
You know what's funny is I feel like Captain Olimar could live my life and feel like he's back home for a week and then have to get sucked back to.
It's like so depressing for him.
Just wakes up. Oh, it was a dream. Nope.
Right.
Setting the mood.
Yeah, get me motivated.
Magic sword grasped in hand. Your arch nemesis Axel is carrying away the princess. He's killed your mentor and best friend and broken his own most sacred vows of rocket knighthood. You think to yourself, he won't get away with this. I won't let him. You start charging your rocket jetpack and get ready to strike. But before you know it, he's escaped. You quickly launch after him, full speed. As you fly through the air, chasing him down, hordes of enemies are there to stop you from reaching your goal. Ducking, weaving, and charging forth with a fury unlike anything you knew yourself capable of, you tear through the hordes and let nothing stop you. Your magic sword and determination are unbreakable in this moment. The last living knight to uphold the honored timeless tradition of the Rocket Knights, and a royal line to save from almost certain erasure. You are the last stand, the last hope. You are Sparkster the Rocket Knight.
Hell yeah.
I have to admit, it doesn't put me in the mood, but I've been looking forward to this episode because I want to needle Steve about this one so bad. Because Steve is such a spike by his very nature. He just likes to find the best games, the most winningest games, the most awesome. But this is the one chip in his armor, and it's this Rocket Knight game that like is okay. He
It's
just loves
hard.
it so much because it's his big nostalgia pick. So
Yeah.
this has been great.
Normal is not normal. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Like the
feel like-
difficulty? No, dude.
So the story, the first time I ever played this game, I just beat it and I did not read the manual. Steve mentioned at the onset of this period to read the manual, so it was the first thing I did. Wow. So if you just play the game, it seems straightforward, right? You got this pig army thing, Angry Bird style, You're this possum knight, which I think you only really figure out you're a possum knight because he hangs upside down sometimes and he looks like he gets this like face when he hangs upside down, like he's remembering some kind of primal instinct to hang upside down. He you're fighting off this pig army who's obviously invading, and there's a guy who's kidnapping a princess. Standard fare, right? But then, like as you're playing the game, again, if you haven't read the manual, you don't know what's going on. There's a point where you rescue the princess, and instead of staying with the princess, the Pig King runs off, and you chase him. You choose vengeance over, rescuing, and then you end up in space, and you end up on a Death Star, and there is no Pig King. He's a Terminator, and he's an AI, and you got to kill the AI. And after you kill the AI, you escape an escape pod from the Death Star that explodes, but so does the pig AI, and then you got to kill him while you're crashing through the atmosphere. And God, that escalated quickly in
Yeah.
7 stage.
What can I say? You're a magic sword wielding opossum in a suit of armor and a jetpack.
And he decides to still fly away after saving the princess again. In the end.
Yep.
So I don't know. Maybe
He just wants violence.
He just don't want it.
He just wants violence.
I mean,
but as Steve mentioned here, there's like backstory,
Yeah, I mean, so like, it goes back in time and it tells you about like the old lineage of the king and an evil that he defeated and sealed away, and so you're part of this League of Knights or whatever. It's like they're the Rocket Knights, and you're the only one left. And the guy that was leading it gets killed by Axel, your like rival, pretty much. Yeah, he turns evil, and he kills your mentor, and he's also like your best friend or whatever. And you don't get any of this from the game.
No.
You have to like read it in the manual. So yeah, if you don't do that, you'll be kind of lost with some of the inside stuff for the game. But to be fair, the game's not really predicated on its story. It's mostly predicated on the action.
Right.
But I feel like they wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason the manual has to tell you about the lineage of the kingdom. Like, basically, the king's just been named after the kingdom, or the kingdom named after the original king, whatever, just for lines and lines and lines, right? And then they tell you about the Rocket Knights. Like, Axel is a rival and friend of, and he's like a Black Knight. That's like the first thing I thought of when I saw him. Your character's bluish rodent, kind of like another rodent for Sega, but then like you see Axel the first time kidnapping the princess. He just looks like a Black Knight. You find out he has a jetpack later, and you're like, oh, he's like me. He's bad me. But Axel was Sparkster's friend, and he killed their leader, Mifune Sanjalo, I think is his name.
Yeah, something like that.
And he killed his master, and like in a kung fu style vengeance quest, Sparkster does not let it go. He wants at that Axel. I think the minute he saw him, he was like, you. It's not about the princess. But the princess is like some sort of key to unlocking the ancient evil of the Pig Star, which is
so protect
the
at
Death
all
Star.
costs.
It's wild. Yeah, I think it's easier to tell you movies they don't reference toward the end of this game. It's nuts.
Well, so if you've never played Rocket Knight before, it is a 2D side-scrolling platformer action game. You have only 2 buttons that do anything. You have an attack, which when you use it, you have a sword that swings, and it shoots a laser beam. The other button, well, also
Jumps.
it does something else, but the other button is jump. That's all it does. But if you hold down your attack button, you'll charge a meter. And it's like a charge shot meter buildup, kind of like Mega Man. But
ABC.
instead of a charge shot, you launch yourself in a direction that you hold, or if you hold no direction, you'll spin in place using your jetpack on your back. So if you shoot in a cardinal direction, you do more damage than if you shoot in an intercardinal direction. But intercardinal directions do more than just spinning in place for damage, unlike bosses and things. And every frame that you hit an enemy with your sword counts. So it incentivizes risky play.
Yeah, close quarters.
Close combat.
So, I mean, the game is fairly simple, and we'll get into more of the stuff, but it's deeper than it looks on the onset. But it's just this comfy little side-scrolling platform game that I have a huge amount of nostalgia for.
Yeah, they don't switch things up on you later. Like, what you see is what you get from that first level. But there are some other levels that break up the like, it's not just like straight that type of gameplay. Like, there's a couple of levels that resemble shmups.
Yeah, shmups. Yeah, I was about to say that.
And then they have some other stuff that they make you do, like riding minecart type of stuff, and they have the giant robot, like Rock'em Sock'em robot fight toward the end. You know, like they and then there's the one where you're like clinging to these rods, and like you're trying not to get sucked out into the void of space, and you have to fight a boss while doing that. Like they do a lot to
Yeah, they definitely tried to
with
make
that
it
simple.
innovative for,
You get
back
the
then.
you get the platform that you can change its elevations with by hitting sides, and they have death spikes there, and then they have a little bit of swimming in some of the levels, and
Yeah.
I think they do a fair amount for 7 levels to kind
Yeah.
of split it
There's
up and
also a
not make it
little
feel too samey.
Yeah, and there's also a little bit of pinball action too. If you like dash into walls and stuff, you gotta like pinball up like some corridors and stuff. I really like the dash mechanic in that game. I thought it was the most innovative thing that they did in this game.
Yeah,
Just
it's definitely the gimmick.
yeah. I mean, I think that's why they call it Rocket Knight, but like it was I don't know, it's just the fact that like if you like bounce into something and like you can like bounce all over, like I thought that was pretty neat. And then, sometimes you can just maneuver your way in certain ways by doing that. And I think you're also invincible too while you're in mid dash.
Yeah, so you are invincible until you get, um, I think, until you get actionable again. So, if that means touching the ground or the end of your dash.
Right. This game was quite difficult too. So I ended up picking normal. So I think it defaults to easy. But for me, anytime I start a game, I always immediately go on the options just to see what the game has to offer in it. And I saw it was on easy, so I swapped it over to normal. And let me tell you, I died so many times trying to play this game. I contemplated going to an easier difficulty, but I stuck to my guns and I just kept playing on normal. And unfortunately, I didn't beat it, but I got pretty close. I got to like the airship, like where you're like circling around the airship and fighting that boss.
Yeah,
But
level 6.
yeah,
There are a lot of bosses in this game. So we said 7 levels, but really it's kind of like the 7 levels are unspokenly broken up into like sub levels. Like it's not quite like Sonic the Hedgehog where like Green Hill Zone Act 1 or Green Hill Zone Act 2. It's like it just transitions like you feel it. Like it's suddenly a different
yeah.
thing.
So
Like
when I first started, I thought when I beat like the mini boss on the first stage, I thought that was like that stage was done. And then obviously you'd go through like the castle portion of it of the first stage, and then you'd beat the boss at the end, and then it says the level complete, and I was like, oh, okay, so this was all one big level. I get it now.
it's almost like an act where like okay, this is like the pigs invasion act, right? And you fight
Yeah.
that thing off, right? But like that first sub-level boss, it has 2 forms. Like
Oh yeah.
that's your
Yep.
introduction to Rocket Knight bosses is that, you fight a tank on a bridge. It's very like Dr. Robotnik-esque style if you're familiar with that, right? But then like you start falling down the waterfall and the pig who's now lost control completely is just like spinning in the waterfall, and if you don't damage him enough, he's going to hit you and
Yeah.
kill you still. It's like the whole
It's
second form of the
also
boss.
your first introduction to lag.
Oh yeah. Even the first boss, I think too. Like just the waterfall in the background.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
I was like, what is this, dude? I was getting slowdown.
I
But
got
Yeah.
cheese strats, I think, for almost every boss except for the end. So for that tank, I like to rocket over him and get behind him.
you didn't
Yep.
even
And
you
there's
didn't
nothing he can do.
Oh yeah, the first form. The second form is like really easy too, where it's like a lot of the time it's like you can just sit there and charge and do the little spin move, and he'll just hit you every time. When you hit him, he backs away, but then you have enough time to charge, so when he comes back, you can just let it go, and basically you have like this infinite loop until he dies.
Yeah, and I just like I try to hit as many things with the sword. Like Steve mentioned, there's rewards for close combat. So like when you hit with the sword, it hits like I don't know 3 or 4 times instead of the one time when you throw the little beam. And like you can just
I think it's
melt
5.
bosses with it. Yeah, it's brutal. Like there's some bosses that'll take you multiple rounds that you can just down in a single round if you get close and hit them. It's crazy.
There's no hit stun, so
Yeah, not for that particular thing. No, there is for the beam, I think, right?
well, you can only shoot it so fast.
I was gonna say yeah, because you can hit it as many times as you want, but yeah, it's not very fast.
And like you will replay this game. This game is hard. Like so there's a gut punch. If you just turn it on and play it and you beat it, and it's hard to beat the first time. Once you beat it, it goes through the credits, then there's a splash screen at the end and it'll say in fine print, next to Sparkster, and a background. Try the game on normal mode. You're like, excuse me?
You're like, wait a minute, what?
The cartridge defaults to easy?
Yeah, it's wild.
And then normal mode, you get a lot less hits. And like, so I think on easy mode, I think it's 3 lives and 3 continues.
Something like that.
And then on normal mode, it's 2 lives, 1 continue. And on hard mode, it's 1 life, 0 continues. You can find extra lives. But that's not even the worst part about hard mode. I have to mention his name first. So this game was made by Konami. And it was when Konami was really starting to get into the Genesis, and like other games that would follow this would be like the Castlevania series, Contra Hardcore, right? So you had Castlevania Bloodlines and Contra, the titles that Konami's famous for, but they really started to kind of like ramp up and get into this Genesis thing at a certain point. Nobuya Nakazato was the Konami director of Contra. And you think to yourself, "Oh, I played Contra on the NES. That game's hard. This Rocket Knight is hard, but it's not that hard."
Yeah.
And then you play hard mode, and you're like, "Oh, there he is.
Yeah, that's him right there.
There's the Contra. What a jerk."
He had to leave his mark somehow.
Yeah, hard mode is 1-hit deaths. Doesn't matter what hits you. You have 8 hearts. Doesn't matter.
That's
like
crazy. This game is already insanely hard.
I feel like, and this just may be me, I've played a fair amount of Contra, but this game, things feel more cheap when you get hit than Contra does. Because like you can see a lot of Contra stuff coming. But this, like, some things just feel too fast. Like,
did you guys play any hard mode?
Nope.
Yeah, I played some.
Hell no.
Yeah. I got to stage 7, the very beginning of it once. So that's
that's actually pretty impressive.
But you can pick up like 9 lives along the way, so don't be that impressed. Like,
yeah,
I got hit and died.
The parts where like I die a lot, there's usually a life there. Like fighting Axel and the giant robot on hard mode, like there's a life every time you die you can get. So it's like infinite retries as long as you get to the life.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like a checkpoint.
But there's no lives in level 7. That level's a nightmare on hard mode.
I can imagine.
On hard mode.
It's just the bosses. Like the bosses are tough.
Yeah. The actual levels themselves aren't really that hard at all. Like the enemies die like really fast. Like in general.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's like I feel like in the beginning you get like those like tanks and stuff, or like the cars that like fly. That's like you don't really see that too much after that. Like where they take like, you know, a bunch of hits and stuff.
I mean, even still, like,
yeah.
When the cars come at you in the beginning, you can just literally stand there and attack, and it'll drive through you, and you'll kill it.
Wait, what? How do you not get hit doing that?
I don't know.
If the enemy is being hit, they
don't have a hitbox anymore, or a hurt box.
So it's a good way to dodge. Yeah. So welcome to hard mode, Dan. You ready?
So that. Because I was wondering about that. So you guys know, I think it's the second level where you get like that snake boss that like it goes underwater, and and it's like a shmup. Yeah. So there was times where like I'm at like, you know, the leftmost part of the screen, and like I'm just like swinging my sword, and I could hit him a few times, and he was like literally right on top of me, and I didn't die, and I was like, that seems a little weird, but like I just thought like maybe his hurt box didn't register until more of him was on the screen. But that what you said with the car, that makes a lot of sense then.
Yeah, so if an enemy moves fast enough through you, but you hit him with your sword, it'll go like and then it'll go past you, and you won't get hit.
Okay.
But the cars, like, you can swing like multiple times before it would actually touch you. So as it's driving through you, you just like swing like 2 or 3 times and it dies and you don't.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and that dragon too, you got to get like to the sweet spot. You get like just barely on top of him, and you just chase him as he comes out of the water, and you're just
he was annoying
3 times. I can kill him before he gets to the edge of the screen.
Oh, really?
Every time.
Wow.
Yeah, because I'm just chopping at him. The other one is the train. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. You can hit him with the back. So if you time it right, as he's like weaving up and down, you can hit him and then keep moving forward, and the back of your sword will keep hitting him as you just keep getting away from him.
I know the jetpack's supposed to be the selling point, but the sword is so powerful.
I know.
I don't like, you may jab me for the game or whatever, but like, I don't know, it's just fun and cozy, and I don't care what you think.
It's not a bad game by any means, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. Don's just being critical about it.
It's just
Yeah.
one of these. Well, okay, all right. You want to talk about the jank? So we
The
already
jank.
did the sword thing, and enemies don't hit you while they're flashing. That's usable, but it is jank. And then
I honestly didn't know. I thought it was just like Sega limitations or something.
the walk across platforms thing. Did you guys do any of that?
Yeah, you can do it
On
on the fish
the
boss
lava
and
fish.
Yep.
the platforms leading up to your robot against Axel. You can just walk across them.
Oh, those, and also, on the big flying pig ship that you're chasing, you got to get on those swinging platforms and jump from one to one.
Yeah.
That gap looks not crossable, but he's got them long, like classic Disney legs, and he can just like he steps right over them. You don't have to jump; you can walk from platform to platform. But it does not look like that. I did it by accident once, and I was like, oh, because the jump is janky. Like
You have to
if
jump
you
before the fulcrum of the swing, or not fulcrum at the end of the swing.
yes,
Fulcrum would be right in the middle of the swing,
but
but
if you wait until it stops and then jump, you're dead. That other one goes away first. So the timing is not intuitive for what you're doing.
you know
But
what you're
then
supposed to do?
just walk.
No, as soon as the first one comes all the way up, you just jump straight diagonally up and you boost straight horizontal and you'll hit the door.
Yeah, you could do that, I guess. And then there's
I don't know. I feel like the game had like a fair amount of cool innovation
Oh, it
too.
did. It
Like
absolutely
you
did.
had the bot, like that one of the mini bosses on that flight. You have those like manky looking robots that you have to hit off so he'll fall and hit the guy. I don't know. And then on top of that, like you have multiple different like phased bosses, and nothing feels the same throughout all the levels. Like I feel like they did a pretty good job trying to be innovative. The water snake that goes in the forefront and the backdrop of the waterfall, that fight's really cool. Um, it's just so much packed into such a little game. I mean,
Right.
I mean, you
I
can
don't.
tell the passion is definitely there.
Yeah.
I'd say that there's, I don't know what year the game came out, but I would say that there's more variance in this than Sonic 1 for sure.
93. 93.
So I mean,
Yeah,
I wouldn't say
definitely.
Sonic 3, but maybe contesting with Sonic 2, but definitely more than Sonic 1. Like there's a lot in this game I think that is worth praising. And there is some jank, yes, but what kind of like tons of Sega games had jank.
So I definitely don't want to take away from what you said, because they're really like, if you play enough Sega games, like this game has really good sprite rendering, has really good animations, a really solid and varied color palette, especially for the size cartridge we're dealing with. I think the soundtrack is really good. It's strange because I didn't play this game until like I think like 2021 was the first time I played this game, but the soundtrack still gave me nostalgia because something about it is just so damn Genesis.
Yeah.
Like it's got like hints. If I'm gonna describe them in like video game, it's got like hints of Shining Force. It's got hints of Kid Chameleon, and like those funky Genesis sound waves coming out of there, and it's something about it really hits all the right chords. But it is like sometimes I now as a retro gaming adult looking back, when I play like Super Nintendo games, because I was a Genesis kid growing up, I really see what I was missing out on. Like there's just no Genesis games that have the scope of something like a Donkey Kong Country 2 or like a Super Metroid, right? And this game feels that. Like it just feels like a souped up NES game. Like it only uses two buttons.
Yeah.
Granted it uses them really well, but it just feels like it's, go from stage to stage, very simple platformer.
So
Yeah, and there's plenty to master in this title too, just trying to get better, and then also like you got like the Contra hard mode too. If you really like this game and you want to try and beat it through that. This game like reminds me of a game that I would have played back in the day. So the X-Men game, there was a time period in my life, I think I was in 3rd grade, where I would wake up early just to beat that game every morning.
yeah.
And I could see like this game being one of those games where it's like it's just a game that you just fell in love with as a kid and you just would wake up early and just beat it. And I could definitely see myself with this game. But I never owned it, so obviously that never happened. But Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't beat this game as a kid. As a kid, I played this, I remember distinctly, I was in the second grade when I first played it, and I got to the flying level in the city as a kid. I didn't get past the Axle robot or whatever. I never beat it as a kid. I replayed it, I got it for the Genesis in high school and ended up beating it in high school. But like, I don't know, the game was always this challenge that I could always come back to. Because Sonic wasn't hard enough for me as a kid. I beat all the Sonic games as a kid. But this game challenged me. It was one of my first like side-scrolling platform challenges of my life. So I always had a soft spot for it because I always wanted to go back and finish it.
Right. Yeah, I feel like the replayability with like Sonic is just like the the special levels. To see how early you can get Supersonic.
Yeah.
I wish like this game kind of had something like that too, where it's like it just gave. I mean, it's good for what it is, but like there's no like extra stuff to it. It is what it is. It's what you see is what you get. It's pretty
Yeah, I
much
agree. It would be cool if they had something. But yeah, it's literally what you see is what you get. No hidden anything.
right.
Like
Yeah,
hidden
and
live like one ups, but
that's kind of where it loses me a little bit, right? Because yeah, we did talk about Sonic One, but even in Sonic One, there's like the side quest of collecting the emeralds. It doesn't
that do
give you
nothing. I mean,
supersonic, right? But it does give you a special ending. There
Yeah.
is something at the end for doing it, you know. So you know it's like a side thing, but the levels are huge in Sonic One, and there's multiple paths you can take, right? Whereas
yep.
the Rocket Knight has better bosses,
Straight up,
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's a huge part of the gameplay. But Sonic's bosses are no slouch either in the first game. You are doing varied things to beat those bosses, but the levels are just so huge and so like you can get through them different ways. And if you play Sonic twice over, you might experience something entirely different because of the way you went through the stages. And that was kind of interesting for the time. Plus, there's this whole like momentum thing, the way that Sonic moves, and there's the speeding around thing, and and I even think of games like the Toy Story platformer that I used to beat the crap out of as a kid, which I would not recommend to anybody, but like, there just was a kind of way about like how the character moves, like Woody moves, that you had to kind of master similarly to this, but
Yeah,
there's
Woody
still
is
like this like
janky as
momentum and
hell in
stuff.
that game.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe that's nostalgia goggles for me, but like this game just like you have two modes, stop and go. Like when you're walking, like there's no like momentum, there's no like
Yeah,
maybe
the
that's a good
momentum
thing. I
buildup
don't know.
is the rocket.
Yeah.
It's ABB.
And then but the rocket drops you dead in the air, which is one thing I hate about it. Like if you try to like shoot up and diagonally and you just don't make your mark, you go up diagonally then straight down. Like
Yeah,
you
well,
don't
that's because
sail
of the
over the way
screen.
you would expect.
Like, they don't want to move the screen too much.
I mean, the scrolling in this game is wonderful. Like you see the backgrounds moving. I don't know, just like visually, this is a really appealing game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the game, but like I wish there was just more of like the 2D levels where like you're just, jumping and platforming and, using your rocket boost. I'm not a fan of like the shmup levels too much. They're all right, but like the charm of the game for me was, being able to use the rocket boosters and being able to bounce around and stuff. Like the whole shmup part is like you get that in so many other games that I was like it kind of lost a little points with me with that.
Yeah, but the thing about those, for me, I mean, obviously you don't have to agree with me, but like it was exciting when like the rocket's just going full blast and you're like flying
I
through the
mean,
air,
as
slicing
a
through.
kid, I
Like it
could
was
Got the
definitely,
goggles
exciting.
down, and
as
he's
a
like
kid,
Yeah,
I could
digging.
definitely see it.
excitement.
As a kid, that is exciting and and immersive. But as an adult,
Yeah.
looking at it in a more adult way, you're just like, oh man, like I like being able to bounce around in my rocket boosters.
Well,
Yeah, but the
plus
game
the
gives you plenty of options to do that in between those segments too.
Yeah.
the music bops too during those segments too. So they
Oh
like
yeah.
Dun,
you're
dun,
like you're
dun,
like you're
dun,
like into
dun,
it.
dun, dun,
You
dun.
know
Yeah,
what? You know what they should have did
here I
was
come.
you should have still been able to like charge and maybe like
Shot big laser.
when you're flying around you can still like rocket boost, that would have been pretty sick. You would just go faster than normal and hit enemies that way. But maybe it's just one of those things that they would add in a later title or something if they kept it, that formula.
So this game definitely doesn't do exploration nearly as well as Sonic, but I will say that there is the extra of beating it on normal mode instead of easy mode. You get a different ending. So,
You get
I
a
mean,
different ending for hard mode too, if you can see it.
Does he actually stay
no,
with the girl?
the ending's the same,
Uh,
other
No.
than the end title screen where it says "Die Hard Mode."
yeah.
But I don't know. The game is simple, but sometimes that's what you need in life, and this thing isn't getting entered into the league on this episode, and I don't think it would do super well. But it is something fun that I like to return to and play every now and then, just for something cozy.
Yeah, and I think that this also was made around a time where yes, there were mascots for the respective video game companies. Like Sega had Sonic already, Nintendo had Mario, but I think it wasn't necessarily as clearly defined as we know it to be today. Like I think looking back, we were like, oh yeah, Sonic was definitely the mascot, but there were still game companies out there vying for that spot, and there were tons of platformers back in this period of time with your off-odd animal characters, whatever. I'm trying to think of like a good example, like Bubsy, right? Like Dynamite Heady, right? Like there's just all these
Oh, Hetty.
random, yeah,
I remember that game, dude.
like random platformers, and then they had licensed ones like Garfield and Animaniacs and stuff like that. And I think amongst that pool of games, I can see how this one sits on top with the cream. Like I do think you should play Rocket Knight Adventure. If you're a Sega Genesis enthusiast, you should play it. And it did get a remaster recently in a collection that's available for everything. So clearly somebody else thinks it's very playable today too.
How is that one? Did anyone play that?
That remaster?
Yeah, I wonder.
No, Resparked. I haven't played it.
I'm curious to get it because the cartridges for the two Sparkster games are expensive. So this game spawned two sequels, Sparkster and Sparkster. They're the same name, but not the same game. There's a Genesis one and a Super Nintendo one. The Genesis one, story-wise, is a direct sequel to Rocket Knight Adventures. But the SNES one apparently has less to do with the original narrative, but still features Sparkster as the main character, similar gameplay elements, totally different levels.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have not really played either of them, and I should.
I kind of wonder how they stack up to the original title.
Generally less favorably.
Really?
Yeah, people prefer the first
I feel like
one.
you could only go up from that, if you just expanded on what the game had. That's kind of crazy.
As
I don't
far
know, I'd
as
have to
I'm
give it a
aware,
try.
they messed with the boost a little bit.
Oh, but the boost was so fun.
Yeah, I think that's why.
Damn.
Well, we saw this with ActRaiser too. Remember, we played that one.
Yeah,
So like ActRaiser was its own game, but if you
I know.
played ActRaiser 2, it's
why?
an entirely different game and it's bad.
They just turned it into a platformer, dude. Like you had
Not a
like
good
your
platformer
own
either.
like genre pretty much, and you just like, nope, everyone's doing platformers. That's what we're gonna do too.
Except we're gonna do it bad.
Yeah.
Kill this series. Kill him dead. The other interesting thing, I mentioned the music earlier, but one of the chief composers, there were two. Michiru Yamane, I probably butchered that. He is the Konami composer that is most famous for, you'll never guess it, Castlevania. Did like almost all of the Castlevania games. Which is kind of interesting because this game sounds nothing like Castlevania. Like sound font wise, composition wise. I'm not a music expert, Steve. Maybe you can help me out here. But like, do you guys hear any Castlevania
He's just
here?
well rounded. I wouldn't
No,
say like.
I would not have. Like if I didn't know this was made by Konami, I would never would have put this with Castlevania music.
No, but like Castlevania has like a tone, right? It's like a gothic tone on everything. This is not that kind of game. And you have artists now that do all kinds of scores for all kinds of different settings, and you wouldn't guess that they did the same thing.
Well, props to him then. Like that's I feel like that's difficult to do because like sometimes it's like when you hear like a certain like song in a different game, you're like that sounds kind of familiar, and sometimes you can almost pinpoint it to the same person.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm glad you're coming around.
Oh, I feel like the Genesis sound chip, if used right, it slaps really hard.
Oh, music, yes. I just meant like game quality.
Yeah.
Like it's just like
Like
people
if you
like to say that the SNES sound chip is better, but I do feel like it's got its problems, and a lot of the games that end up on the SNES have the same problems that the Genesis games have, where people compose songs, then it gets farted out onto that sound chip, and it's not good. It doesn't matter which
Yeah.
system it is. And like the composers who lean into it, do better. Like I think of like Super Metroid, and everything in that game is made for that sound chip, and it sounds, it doesn't wreck the ambiance.
Right.
But occasionally in Final Fantasy, sometimes the sound chip sounds terrible.
Right.
Right, because those are real great songs, and they're just on that sound chip. And it's
Yeah, because like there's a good comparison, like Mortal Kombat 2, for example. Like if you listen to the music in the Sega Genesis one versus like the SNES one, the Sega Genesis one craps all over the SNES one. It's like not even close.
It just had like a twang to it. It's like a whirl, whirl, whirl. Like it's really hard to describe.
It is so good. I feel like if I try and put it into words, where it's like I do think the SNES sound chip is better, but like I feel like the Sega one has more potential if you have the right composer behind it. If that makes any sense.
I mean, look at Chemical Plant Zone.
I know, dude. Like,
right? And honestly, the Michael Jackson Moonwalker songs, if you got the version of the cartridge with his licensed music in it, because some of them didn't have it because of disagreements, but like it sounds good.
That's what I'm saying. You get the right person behind that sound chip, they can get some good things coming out of that Sega Genesis.
And I think this game's a really good example of that.
Oh yeah,
I think
absolutely.
all the notes hit. Yeah, I mean, not every song is a banger, but I don't think the soundtrack is not designed in a way where it's supposed to be like bangers all the time. It's like designed in a way to fit what's happening on screen, and like it is lighthearted sometimes, like in that first level, and it's more epic and has greater gravitas in other levels. Like I'm thinking like the whole like lava cavern, right?
Yeah, I like the music in the second level because it feels like you're about to go surfing. And then it starts getting real jazzy, and you're like, what is happening here?
Like the near.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something just like really charming about the game. So I'm glad that Dan got to play it for the first time, and
yeah, it's good.
I'm glad I got to revisit it. So
I
definitely
definitely
really have
enjoyed
a
it.
lot more to say.
Definitely not mad at it. I beat it a couple times over this week. I know Dan didn't get to.
It's
but,
hard. I have to play on children's mode.
Yeah,
There is
children's difficulty.
I saw that.
they really go for you when they do stuff like that. Occasionally you find a game that does that, and you're like, oh, it's easy mode, and then you tab over left, and you either get like very easy, which already is not cool, but this one's like children's mode. Even as a child, I would have been like, no,
Yeah,
not playing children's mode. I can't do it. It's so insulting.
What would my friends think of me?
It's like built-in gatekeeping, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're new to video games, you're like, oh, this game looks fun, and you're like, and you play on easy mode, and you don't have shame about it, and then you go to turn it on to children's mode. It's like, yeah, we're gonna make sure you have shame about this one.
Sparker's
You're
now
You're not getting away with that.
he's now equipped with a foam sword.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a pretty quick title.
Yeah,
I think it's a good game for everybody to play. I think what we've talked about here is kind of what's in the game. No real surprises, really, narratively, or But I think what's astounding is just the amount of bosses, and even though it's a 2-button game, they managed to make you do, I think, as many things as possible with it. Yeah, it's just a really great romp.
agreed.
For some reason, it doesn't stand with the classics. I mean, Microsoft tried to revive the series in 2016 with an Xbox 360 release called Rocket Knight. Yeah, and it wasn't even good enough to make it onto the remastered cartridge, right? So, or nobody cared. You can still get it on Steam if you want, but it's just, for some reason Sparkster never stuck. I don't know why, because he is cool.
Yeah,
I could have seen him sticking.
so do I. It's just kind of weird that he didn't. Like, I don't know. Maybe those sequels really just didn't jive well with the audience.
Could have just been the timing. Could have been that mascots were becoming cemented. People were getting tired of platformers by 93.
Sonic was too strong.
Yeah, Sonic too strong.
Sonic too stronic.
He's supersonic. We just needed Super Sparkster. We got to collect the, I don't know. How come he doesn't play dead? How come there's no play dead button? I feel like
missed opportunity.
Yeah, that's like what possums are most known for, right?
I think so.
Have you ever seen a
pretty much.
possum hang upside down? Because actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I haven't.
There is a Sega Genesis game, and my cousin had played it, and I don't think I had, but it's called Awesome Possum. And I think he like pretends to be dead as an animation if you wait too long to do anything. So I'm pretty sure that's a thing in a Genesis game, just not this one.
Speaking of waiting too long, did you guys have a moment where your jetpack failed?
Yeah.
Wait a minute,
This
what?
so there's this lava level where the lava's coming up and down. If you touch the lava, you die. It doesn't matter what difficulty you're
Yeah,
on,
yeah,
right?
I know what
So
level you're talking about.
you don't want to do that. But here I am obeying our ABC rule here on the Cable Club podcast, which is always be charging, right? So I'm just holding down the charge button, not finding a good opportunity to do it, and I'm holding it down, holding it down. I'm like 3/4 of the way through the level. I must have been holding this thing since the beginning of the level, and the rocket pack blows up and knocks me back, and I fall in the lava and die. And it happened to me again later because I did it on purpose to see, and it's something they built into the game, but you have to hold it for so long.
Oh,
Like I don't know,
okay.
it's like
So holding it is what does it.
yeah, it's like
Okay.
2 or 3 solid minutes though. Like I don't even
Oh.
think it's possible in a stage if you were just going at a normal pace. Like you would probably never
How did you
encounter
get
this
to a point where
problem.
you were holding it that long? It's
Well,
like
because I
five.
was being careful with the lava. Like the lava stage, you have to
Yeah,
pick over closely, and I'm just holding it,
yeah.
not even thinking about it. It just blew up, and I was like, "Excuse me."
Yeah.
Interesting.
More charm.
More charm. Take that.
Mm.
All right, you guys want to get to our not rating and outro?
Let's do it.
All right, so this is the part of the show where if we were rating this game, I would tell you about the league, but since we're not rating the game, but our listeners are intimately familiar with the league, I would like to ask that if we were to put this in the league, which we're not, would this be Ultra Ball material?
Let us know in the comments.
Dan, would this be Ultra Ball material?
Me, I think for me personally, I think the game is good. Don't get me wrong. But for my personal taste, I think I would land this right in Great Ball, like just in the beginning of Great Ball. I think it would be like high Pokeball, low Great Ball. But I would throw it in Great Ball.
That's 2 levels above Pokemon Gold and Silver, just for the record, everybody.
It's your guys' fault. You guys really let me down.
It's a crappy meta pick.
I was going in guns blazing. I was like, "There's no way I could. That belt's mine, dude." And then no,
Should have did
no.
like I don't know. I don't know.
I'm gonna get the
If you
toilet
wanted to do a
reward at this
Pokemon
rate.
game, it should have been like Fire Red Leaf Green. Because
I
I'd be
thought
like,
Gold and
Kanto?
Silver was really good. I thought it was. I thought I was like, man, I can't lose. Boy, was I wrong.
I think I would, at this stage, I think I would probably give it high Pokeball myself. I do think it would maybe, depending on what else we get throughout the year, because we still have 10 games to go. Or is it 9? It's 9 now, right? Yeah, we have 9 games to go. I think it's possible it would work its way up into Great Ball.
Yeah, makes sense.
Unless all of our future guests to sign up are looking at the list closely and they're like, I'm not landing down there. Gotta beat Pokemon Gold and Silver. Let's make sure stay above that line.
I mean, there's something to say about this game for replayability. Even though there isn't like a bunch of extra stuff to do, I find myself always wanting to replay it. So, I mean, I wouldn't put it in Ultra Ball either. I think it's like low Great Ball, high Pokeball tier. I mean, we have some games that are just like really hard to beat. StarCraft and, Final Fantasy Tactics and Paper Mario and Tony Hawk. Like, there's so many good games on our league right now.
If you're interested in that, go check out our backlog. You can find us at www.thecableclub.com, and you can find our entire episode anthology, including when we were a lot worse than we are now. If you think we're bad now, go listen to the Splatterhouse episode.
We are bad now still. Sorry.
Take a look.
That's
It's
okay.
quite funny. You'll get a kick out of it.
Mega Man X7, I feel like we were on our game, though, because we hated it so much. We were so reactionary. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead and check that out. And then I would also like to thank all of our listeners for tuning in every couple of weeks or every week with us now, because we have weekly episodes now. And I would like to specifically highlight our Discord members, because I really like hanging out with you guys in Discord from week to week, chatting about the game of the week. But also, we have a Pokemon Pocket mini community going on there. I love hanging out in there. Question of the week, all that stuff. So you guys really make this worth it and get me the engagement that I need as a busy dad working gamer. And then I will mention that our theme music is unknowingly produced by Kubbi. You can find his work over at the Bandcamp site. There'll be a link to that in our show notes. And as far as editing the show goes, that is Mr. Dan most of the time himself. So we are a pretty much self-produced podcast. So all the lovely artwork and collages and graphic design and editing that you see, that's kind of the three of us all working together.
Absolutely.
All right, fellas, anything else before we call this an episode?
Go play Rocket Knight.
Game over.
Game over.
Game over.